Hello and welcome. I'm so excited for today's episode. It is Ask Jenny Anything. And this idea was inspired by Kaylee, which most of you know Kaylee. I'm so grateful for Kaylee. I was just telling one of the team members here today of just how impactful she's been to my life, the company, the podcast, and really just such a game changer in my life. And I'm so grateful to have Kaylee part of my team and just as a friend as well. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Jenny Townsend, your host. This podcast is for doers, dreamers, and those trying to decide what's next. I, along with amazing guests, will be sharing stories of success, failure, and what's to come. Thanks for tuning in. If I sound a little nasally today, that's because I'm nasally. Just back from Croatia. I'm sure you have seen my podcast I recorded in Croatia. And then I was in Sedona with my mom, which was tons of fun. And yeah, all the traveling caught up to me. So just bear with my voice. And thank you to everyone that submitted some questions. It's really cool to get all those inboxes and those messages of people wanting to know certain things as well. So I've got a couple pages of notes and some questions as well. So thanks for tuning in. Turn it up. So one of the questions was, what keeps you up at night? So this is going to definitely have a long response because music compound consumes so much of my life and my mind and my sleepless nights as well. So music compound all the way, whether it is an incident that happened, a team member incident, or maybe an email I need to send back to them, or maybe they're on the schedule to touch base about a project or something. There's, when you have a team of 30, there's always something going on as well. And then it just could be a task I didn't get through. So just yesterday, I was up at 2 a.m, which is probably another reason why I'm sick. 2 a.m, working on the task list. Even though I worked really hard to get all of my work, all my tasks done before traveling, I still had a lot to catch up on. Plus, I was in Croatia with my friend Gabriella, who previously owned a music school, so we did a lot of talking shop. So I came home with a list of things to do. Actually, her and I were joking about how much business has changed over the course of the last 10 years. And it really has. When I think about 2016, when I launched my business and my 1,800 square foot brick and mortar, and where we are today, 10 years later, in a 10,000 square feet facility, obviously the scope of the facility has changed. The individuals that are working in Music Compound has changed. I personally have changed so much in the last 10 years, but the technology has changed so much. When I started in 2016, it was like a website and a Facebook page. And then the next thing I know, it's like, we got to use Periscope, which if anyone remembers Periscope, it's before YouTube videos. And that's how we would stream our concerts. And then it was like, oh, Instagram, TikTok, then Reels. Then it was like, now we've got to do YouTube podcasting. And there's been so much technology changes. In 2018, I had to exit my business for a little bit. And I came back several months later, and the next thing I know, Tom and Kaylee were texting clients about schedule changes and sales. And I was like, wait, we get on the phone with people. And they're like, no one really wants to talk to us. And I was like, what? So texting clients became a thing. And then the next thing is AI. And so we've just had to now incorporate AI. And we have a new employee named Sarah. She's our AI virtual assistant. She works the hours of 8 p.m. to 11 a.m. And she does intake, she takes messages, she cancels appointments. And then it's like, oh, well, now you need a new website. I'm like, so many things have changed over the course of 10 years with business. So yes, Music Compound keeps me up every single night. And technology is just one aspect of running a business. Wouldn't change it for the world. I love Music Compound. I love the people here. What we do as far as our mission and transforming dreams into reality fuels me. It makes me so happy. But yeah, it's one of the things that keep me up at night. So that was the first question. What's the best advice for time management when you feel like you're wearing so many hats in life? Well, this is funny. I really want to do an Instagram video where it's like I have every hat that I wear on. And then I want to actually jump through hula hoops too, because business, you wear so many hats and you jump through so many hoops to make things happen as well. So I did actually send this person back a message, block scheduling. So if you've listened to the podcast before, you get my emails, you know how important block scheduling is. I literally have to block out time for every single thing that I do. So first and foremost, the way I've got my schedule blocked out is 1/3 is health, 1/3 is wealth, and 1/3 is for connection and play. So if you look at my block schedule, which we'll make sure to post a photo of it. The first hour and a half to 3 hours I'm up every single day is literally all about me, which I absolutely love, right? So I'm walking with my husband, I'm snuggling with my husband, I'm working out, I'm in the sauna, I'm making sure I eat a good breakfast, I may be playing tennis, I may be, going and having coffee with a friend before I get my work days. But all of that is happening anywhere from like 5 a.m. to like 9 a.m. It's all about me. That way I know I feel good, I'm fueled, I'm ready for the day. You never know what's going to happen. And there's a lot of times, if we don't have the right mindset and we come up with an obstacle, we may actually like sink. We're not going to be able to handle it. We're not going to know how to think properly. We're going to be really emotional. We're going to react. We're not going to actually see it as an opportunity or a time to like really talk through it with a team member. So you want to make sure you're mentally right. And I do that by doing this morning routine. During the middle of the day, depending on the day of the week. So I have Music Compound, which is my job and my career. I have Women Who Mastermind as well, and that's where we meet women around the CEO roundtable twice a month. I'm also part of the CEO Forum, which is another roundtable educational thing. I have my podcasting, which you're listening to today. My husband and I also own a laundromat, so there's time for the laundromat as well. And there's always other work, CEO work I have to do. So the middle of my day is really based on work, so working on my wealth. And then everything is structured. So like Mondays and Wednesdays will be Music Compound days. Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to be Women Who Mastermind, podcasting, laundromat, with maybe some Music Compound tasks. And then Friday is really my catch-up day. I don't schedule anything prior to 1 p.m. because once again, I want to play tennis on Friday. I want to have lunch with my husband, and then I'll catch up on things. If I don't have anything to catch up on, I take the day off and have a 3-day weekend. And then the evenings are for connection with my husband for years, like 4 years or so. I was at Music Compound till 7, 8 o'clock every single night, sometimes later. On the weekends, I was always working. And that was one of the struggles with our marriage. I wasn't home. There wasn't quality time. There wasn't connection. There wasn't conversation. And if I was home, I was scrolling on my phone, talking about this, working on anything but my relationship. So at this stage of my marriage, I really make that a priority. And one of those things is having quality time at home with my husband in the evening. I make dinner every couple nights as well. I do a lot of food prep too. And then that's my time with my girlfriends, going out to happy hour. And then my husband and I will go and have dinner too. So once again, block scheduling, make sure to ensure that I'm getting everything I need done in a timely fashion. And then one more thing is 1 day of rest. So either it's Saturday or Sunday, I force myself to lay in bed. And for years, I just couldn't imagine taking a nap or laying on the couch for 20 minutes. My parents brought me up as like, you have to work hard. Like, you're lazy. There's no sleeping. There's no watching TV. We didn't even have TV as a kid. So I never like felt this like connection with being able to lay down and rest. So in my 40s, I've now understood that, yeah, I need to recharge. I need to rest. And yeah, so I watch Netflix. I'm watching Grace and Frankie right now, which if you haven't watched Grace and Frankie, definitely check it out. It's hilarious. Yes, it's about older women, but oh my gosh, we're all going to be there. And there's so much that we can relate to when we think of our moms and our aunts as well. If you could time travel, what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self? So this one I did have to think about for a little bit. My advice to myself would be to get a mentor other than your parents. Your parents are great at giving advice, but they're most likely giving you advice so you don't make the same mistakes they did, or advice that's coming from their parents, which is really outdated. Like, the world has changed. We have changed. We have evolved. Jobs, the way we invest money, all of that is completely different. So find out what your passions are, what you want to do, and then find a mentor in that space. I really wish that I would have had a kind of a clue of what I wanted to do when I got out of high school, and I didn't. But all my friends were going to college, so my parents were like, well, you have to go to college. I was not ready for college. And when I think about all the money my parents invested in college, they could have gave me a down payment for my house, my first house. And I could have lived in that house and rented out the rooms. And 25 years later, I would have a really nice investment. Or I could have sold that house at a good time to start a business, or I could have taken an equity line out to start a business. So even if you do want to go to college, I would maybe consider not going to a really expensive college, maybe consider a trade school and taking the funds that your parents would give you to fund your college career and make an investment. Real estate is always a great investment. And I would encourage you to get your real estate license. So grateful to have my real estate license. You're going to buy and sell properties throughout your whole entire life. You're going to know people as well. So I get a referral fee every single time I refer someone. So if I did 4 referrals per year at $2,500 a piece, that's an extra $10,000. That could fund a really great trip on the bucket list. So that would be my advice if I could go back, is to get a mentor, invest in real estate, maybe not go to college or consider college alternatives, which I think is trending right now. Colleges are so expensive. I think that you can make a great living without going to college, unless it's for a specialty. Obviously, if you're going to be an attorney, you're going to be a doctor, we need you going to college for that. But with AI, who knows? With the attorney thing. So yeah, I would definitely do that. Okay, what country is next on your bucket list? So for those that have been listening to the podcast, you know that my why is travel. And for those that don't, I think having a why is super important. Why are you getting up to go to work? Why are you dealing with the BS that you're dealing with? Why are you doing anything that you're doing? So my why is to travel. And for years, David and I did not travel. We just worked, we complained, we desired to go on vacation, but we never actually booked the trip. And I truly believe that if we did that, we would have had time to have conversation. We would have reconnected. We would have had intimacy, and we could have prevented the debacle that happened to our marriage. So we travel a lot now. Now we are dinks. For those that don't know, double income, no kids. So we don't have any college funds to fund. We don't have to have an extra car to pay for. We don't have to have an extra mouth to feed at home. So we do have a little bit more money maybe than some people because we don't have children. We also have additional revenue sources. So like I said, the laundromat is one of our businesses. That's a great way to fund some fun. So we have been traveling a lot more now. We've been on some pretty great trips. So for my 40th, we went to Hawaii. For our 10th year anniversary, we did Italy for 2 weeks. We were on a boat in the BVI's, which was kind of a gift from my aunt and uncle. And just this past year, we went to Switzerland and we went back to Italy for 2 weeks. We spent 3 weeks overseas. I just got back from Croatia, just was in Sedona. So lots of traveling for sure. But on the bucket list next has been a long-term dream of mine. And actually, I wanted to go to this place because Tony Robbins does a lot. Actually, no, he does them in Fiji. I'm not going to Fiji. But it's been on my bucket list. And so I'm going to be going to Bora Bora next year and Tahiti for 3 weeks with my aunt and uncle as well. So I'm super excited about that. And since my aunt and uncle have been so generous with us, my husband and I are actually going to be going to Canada with our niece and nephew, and we're taking them on a trip because they're both graduating UF with their master's degrees. So if you haven't been to Banff or Jasper National Park, that's the region we're going to be in. So that's what's next. I want to encourage you to get my book, The Stroke It Guide, available on Amazon and my website. The book is what you need to know from the boardroom to the bedroom. It talks about how to stroke yourself, your spouse, your partner, your friends, your family, most importantly, your employer, employees, and of course, there's a chapter just for the bedroom. Go to Amazon today and get my book, The Stroke It Guide. All right. Have you really forgiven your husband and yourself? And my response is 100%. I will say that was a long journey to get there. I didn't think it was possible. And I had a lot of conversations with people that have been in my shoes before. And they had said, if you can forgive your husband, you will have the best marriage. And when you find out your husband just cheated on you and you were told you were crazy and you had, thought this was happening for so many years and you finally discover that it's actually a real thing, there's no way you can wrap your head around forgiving someone. And it took a while. I would say it probably took 1.5 years to 2 years. It took a lot of work. So much self-discovery, so much self-work on myself. And then my husband had to work on himself too. But I was able to find forgiveness at the end of 2019. And I remember we were living downtown and I came back from a 3-day weekend by myself. And I said, I'm going to forgive you. I have decided we're going to enter 2020 and we're going to put this behind us. And I do want to be married to you. I do love you. I care for you. And I really want to make this work. Our first marriage failed, but our second marriage can be better. And I remember him saying, yeah, right. Are you serious? And I said, yes, I really, really mean this. And he said to me, okay, I'm not going to believe you. Words are words. He goes, it's really going to be about your actions. And at that point, my husband was not going to throw me a forgiveness party. He wanted to see that I actually did forgive him. And what that meant was me leaving the emotions, the anger, and all the lashing out in the past. So, yes, it's part of our history. Yes, I think about it from time to time. I mean, a song can come on and I get triggered, a memory. I drive by the place I discovered, I get triggered. But at the same time, I'm remembering where we are today. And that was something he always said to me as well. And I can't bring it up. I can't lash out. I can't, every time I get an opportunity to take a dig, I have to reprogram my mind, be really grateful for the journey, and say, who are we today? We are a loving couple. We love each other so much. He is my everything. I am his everything. I'm his priority. He's my priority. So, yes, I have completely forgiven my husband, but it wasn't until I forgave myself. I had to forgive myself first. And that meant not like giving myself grace and understanding that, yeah, I did forget I was married. Yeah, I threw myself into the business, but the business wouldn't have been where it is today if I didn't do what I did. So I can't have any regrets. I can't make any changes. And at the end of the day, I had to do, like I said, a lot of inner work, take ownership. It's not like my husband just decided to screw the girl he was working with on a Thursday. It had been something that had been compounding. So if you're going through the same situation, I want to encourage you to, first of all, take some ownership, take a step back, look at it from both perspectives, and then find someone that has been through this journey. If I wouldn't have connected with people that had been in my shoes before, I would have left, because everybody's going to tell you to leave. Everyone's going to tell you there's no chance. Once a cheater, always a cheater. That's not true. At the end of the day, if you married a good man or a woman that has very good characteristics, that has honesty, that has a good relationship with their family, and there's reasons why this happened, you can find forgiveness and find love and trust in that partner again. All right. Well, the next question, what made you decide to stay in your marriage and how did you rebuild trust? I think I kind of just answered that a little bit. Once again, it did take time. I had to focus on the character that my husband was. And I always remembered, like, he was such a good man. And he's so loyal. He's so trusting. He's just a genuinely good person. And this happened 7 years in our marriage. So I was still able to remember the man that I married. If you've been married for 20, 30 years, you may not remember that person. And if you have children and this partner of yours hasn't contributed to the household, or you haven't felt valued for most of it, you're not going to potentially remember all those great characteristics or why you met that person or married them. But I would encourage you to do that. And it's a journey. I always say from discovery to recovery was a complete journey. Here we are 8 years later, and I'm still on a recovery journey, but I'm grateful for it at times because it reminded me of what's important, what matters, and that's our loved ones. You can always make more money, you can always go work, but at the end of the day, family is the most important. And when I stepped out of my company went from red to black. I had a team of individuals that I could trust and willing to transform the company, and I'm so grateful for that too. So there were so many positive things that came out of that discovery. So I want to encourage you, if you're on that same journey, to do that. Do you think you'll ever retire, and do you ever want to? Yes, I will retire. If I do retire, I'll be a mentor, I'll be a volunteer, I'll be giving some time. At that point, I think all of our assets will be paid for. We'll have great companies giving us nice distributions at that time. And that's what we're working towards. That's what we're trying to grow. So yeah, we will retire. I just don't know when that will be. And also, I think there's just times where you need to retire. So I have come in contact with some people that still want to work. They still think they have it, and they do, but just go volunteer. Don't be on someone's payroll. Go volunteer and do what you're passionate about, because somebody does need your skill set and someone does want you to be there. Not that I don't want people to be here or there, but at the same time, we got to just hang up our shoes at one point, right? Okay, so what does your 1-3-5 look like these days? So if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that I talk a lot about developing a 1-3-5. That comes from back in the day when I was working with my mentor, Jamie, who actually wrote the foreword of my book. So where do you want to be in 1 year? Where do you want to be in 3 years? And where do you want to be in 5 years? And so that has really been my guide. Like when I started Music Compound, I was very focused. Like I knew where I was going. So even on the bad days, I stayed true to the plan. Even on the days where I'm like, oh my God, we're losing money. I want to quit. I don't know what's going to happen. I looked at that plan. When I was going through everything with my marriage and it was struggling and failing, I stayed true to that plan. So once again, having a 1-3-5 really allows you to have clarity and light at the end of the tunnel. Because if you're an entrepreneur, it's not going to be easy. If you're a parent raising children, it's not going to be easy. If you're going through a transition phase, it's not going to be easy. But having goals and desires with a plan and action items will keep you on task. Part of those bucket list items that I was talking about earlier, I've only been able to achieve those things because I had a 1-3-5. I had a vision, I had a guide, I had a map of where I was going. I would have never been able to do that without a 1-3-5. I probably would have quit and probably been working at corporate, or who knows what I would be doing. So I think that's really important. So I'll start with 2026. Number one, I want Music Compound to be profitable again. Music Compound has been profitable in the past. It's been a great business. It's been a great tool as well. But recently we've gone through a lot of struggles and I've been really transparent on it. And there's a lot of factors. So I won't go into the whole thing right now. Once again, I want to still remain passionate about the mission. I still want to remain passionate about the podcast. And then also I want to make sure that I still have purpose. So when I think of 2026, my theme is profitable, passionate, and purpose. And so incorporating all the things that I'm doing right now and elevating them, where they're all generating revenue to offset the cost of them. So Music Compound, yes, we are like break-even point. I'm hoping I can get back to profitable and take a full paycheck in 2026. That would be amazing. The podcast, I'm looking at getting sponsors for the show to offset the cost. Yes, it's a passion project, but there's a cost associated with it. And then once again, as far as the purpose, I do want to find some time to give back and, give back to the community, whether it be time, whether it be resources. I did a lot of that in the past. And because of the grind, I haven't been able to. In 2027, I'm looking at increasing my personal income as well, along with helping some other music school owners. So I am working with a couple now that we meet monthly, and we're sharing ideas. We're talking about how to grow their businesses as well. So I would really love to do more of that in 2027. And as far as 2028, still working on that plan. So I'll get back in touch with you, whoever listed that question. All right, the next question is, how do you hold it together and move forward even when everything is going wrong? Do you ever cry? Well, I probably do need to cry, but I really don't cry a lot. I don't know why. Maybe because my dad was like, don't cry, can't cry, and all that stuff. We were going through, obviously that's the hardship of our marriage. There were a lot of tears, but I don't tend to cry. Like if something is going wrong, I do a lot of self-reflection. So like, let's just take the company, for instance. I have been spending so much time reflecting, where did we go wrong? What was happening? What did I miss? And analyzing all the steps. And when I think of the company where it was in 24, we started the decline. And that decline is most likely because in 2023, I thought I had it all. I had a really great team. I was making money. And what I started to do was discover I needed a hobby. I started playing tennis. I started playing tennis 5 days a week. Launched the podcast. I started doing that several days a week. And then I was also really committed to writing my book and launching it in 2024. So what had happened is I had completely removed myself from the company. So it's no wonder why in 2025, 2024, our numbers and things are not as high. So yes, I could sit here and blame it on other people, but at the end of the day, I've got to take ownership of that. And then in 2024, I was launching the book. So I was very committed to that. And then we were going through an expansion and we were changing, and we've had a lot of changes of team members as well. So there's always some kind of reasoning why things are happening. So I spent a lot of time in reflecting and thinking and really journaling as well. So I guess where maybe some people would shut down or they would be like, oh, I'm the victim and why is this happening? I just don't have that mentality. So which leads me to solutions, because I'm, as my husband says, I don't need the solutions advisor today. I'm all about solutions, and I always want to look at everything like, where is the opportunity and the obstacle? And that's how I approach life. So definitely am not a victim. Definitely am not shedding tears. Yeah, I may send a bunch of Slacks and a bunch of emails. My team's probably like, oh my gosh, who is this woman? But yeah, no tears. If I cry, I will definitely put that on social so you can see it. All right, what do you want most to improve or enjoy in 2026? I really do want to make family a priority in the future. I have spent so much time working and grinding and living the dream life, and there's a lot of times that I don't spend with family. So I'd like to commit to spending more time with family and working on those relationships. A lot of my family doesn't actually live here. Well, my dad's whole side of the family lives here, and I've been trying to reconnect with them. But there's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of pushback because there's a lot of judgment. And I am the third oldest of 17. I was the first to graduate college. Well, second, actually. Don was the first to get married. And I'm the only one out of, like, my dad is the only sibling out of 5 siblings that got divorced. So all of their families are still together. So it's very easy for them to all get together for the holidays. Whereas I have to go to theirs, their Christmas. I've got to go to my husband's Christmas, which his sister wants to host breakfast and his mother wants to host dinner. My mom's family gets together on Christmas Eve. My dad's family gets together on Christmas Day. My dad doesn't necessarily go with his family, so then I have to go there. So if you've seen 4 Christmases, mine is 5 Christmases in 24 hours. It is really hard and exhausting and makes the holidays not fun. So there has been some times that I pulled back and going to certain things for a lot of my cousins and my dad's side of the family because I had to choose whether it was David's family or my family. And, I do want to spend a lot of time with my husband, and that's been a priority and part of the rebuilding process. So it's unfortunate that there's judgment and they can't understand different perspective. So I'm looking forward to rebuilding some of those relationships if they're open to it. If they're not, I'm not going to waste my time, energy, and I just don't want to be surrounded by the negativity. I can't help that you want to judge me for something that I just couldn't control in that moment. So it's going to be doing that. My mother-in-law, who passed away early January, and her final words when I was not working with her, but talking with her in the hospital bed. And one of the things she said is, you never realize anything or how precious time is until it's too late. When we really have no more time together, that's when we want more of it. So let's not just hang out with people at the very, very end when they're sick or when they've been given a life sentence. Create those times and memories earlier on. And I think that's really what's inspiring me to spend some more time with my family in 2026. It's on my vision board every year to talk about body health and my body image. For the most part, yes, I like my body. I don't love my body. And every year I'm like, oh, I'm going to have the best body. I'm going to work out. And so looking forward to doing that. I actually did commit for the first time ever to a 3-month workout plan and getting ready for my mom and I's hiking trip. And so they emailed us and like, you've got to do this training for 12 weeks. And so I had to be able to carry a backpack of 15 pounds, had to be able to hike 8 to 9 hours a day. And I was in no shape when I started this. And I had a broken toe. So I broke my toe the day we got back from our 3 weeks in Italy at the end of May. And my training started the first week of June. And so for every week, I would do 2 to 3 videos. I would go to the hill twice a week. And then I would play tennis with a broken toe because I needed to get in shape for this. And I committed to 3 weeks. So I'm so proud of myself. So I'm going to be doing that again, especially since I'm going to Bora Bora. Got to get in shape for that. That's for sure. Trip of a lifetime. Got to have the body of a lifetime. And yeah. And then, speaking of that, when I was hiking with my mom, she had a lot of pain. And it was really hard for me to see her in so much pain. And it was also frustrating. It was just like, oh my gosh, if you're in that much pain, why are we booking a hiking trip together? And I don't want to be like that. So that's another thing too is, they always say the heart problem that you're having in your 60s and 70s started at your 30s and 40s. The back pain, the muscles, all of that started very early on. So I'm just going to continue taking care of my body, taking my supplements, working out, and playing tennis. I play tennis with all of these women. They're in their 80s and they are just moving around that court. So if you're looking for some kind of activity that is social, active, you get a little bit of sun with a great community of people, I would encourage you to start playing tennis. Do not play pickleball. Everyone I know that plays pickleball is getting hurt. You don't want to do that. Okay, so my last question which I don't even know if I have an answer for, is thing you're most proud of in 2025. I'm probably going to say that 3 months when I committed to working out, because it was the first time I ever really stayed with a program and I was consistent. My husband always says, "You're so consistent with being inconsistent." So I was really, really consistent. And I'm really proud of that as well. And I would say in the past 3 months, the team has really transitioned. We incorporated EOS, which, if you have not heard of that, it's Entrepreneur Operating System. It's from the book Traction. Highly recommend that if you're a business owner. And it's all about putting people in key roles, holding them accountable, meeting with them weekly, and resolving conflict and having really hard conversations. So a lot of the people that work in Music Compound have been here for several years. We've shared birthdays, we've shared milestones, and we're just so close. And it's really hard to have uncomfortable conversations with your friends. So I've had to step into more of a boss role since about June when I came back, and I was like, what? I'm not getting a paycheck? And then I was out, and then I was like, what is happening? So we have made a lot of progress, and I'm so proud of our team, and I'm looking forward to the future, ending the year on a high note. So I would say professionally, the traction that's being made within the company. Personally, I would say my commitment to a 3-month workout and developing some really great habits. So those are all the questions. Thank you all who submitted those. I really, really appreciate it. Obviously, if you have any more questions and you want to continue sending those, please do. I want to encourage you to tune in as well for the next couple episodes, if not infinitely. I've got some great guests that are going to be coming out. I've changed the structure a little bit to where we're going to be filming on site at Music Compound. I'm going to be interviewing some guests in person, so super excited about that. I'll be working with a new team that's helping produce the podcast. And yeah, you may know some of the women that's going to be featured on the show. Wishing you a great day. Once again, I want to encourage you to take action, take ownership of your life, tell people your needs, cater to your own needs, then cater to other people. And if you haven't got the book, get the book, The Stroke It Guide, available on Amazon. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to today's podcast. I want to inspire you to send this podcast to 5 of your friends you think would benefit.